Alright guys, like I was telling you on the throttle position sensor, my throttle position was on this side on the originally, so I flipped it, my accelerator cable worked, and my TPS sensor or input was on this side, so I was able to just connect it on there. And this is a factory GM one. I didn't have to splice anything. That goes on there, and it's kind of neat because you can loosen this up. You can loosen these screws up and twist it and make your transmission shift even faster. I have it on that's if you're doing, like, if you're racing out in the track or something, but I just have it it's my daddy driver, so I'm just I just cruise it right now. But these fuel hoses are the original ones that are stuck inside of the intake, which is a really bad design for central port injection that they made from 96 through 2000. That's why you couldn't get a lot of power out of the 350s. The intake was made really bad. If you put a slap of carb on that 350 though, it'll wake it up big time. Maybe give it about 50-60 horsepower. That's one thing it couldn't do. It couldn't breathe. So those are the original fuel lines. What I did is I bought me these pieces that are barbed. I was able to plug it back into the fuel line. It's a 3/8 and a 5/16, and just bought about 15 foot of 3/8, and that's what I used to hook up my fuel lines and get my fuel going. This is all on a budget. I spent about, the motor was 150, carb was 400, intake was 250, MSD was 300, 330. I got it on a special, Christmas special from Jegs. When I bought the motor for 150, it came with I already had a bracket, power steering bracket, and the power steering pump, it was already on it. But honestly spent about maybe no more than 2,500. I would have to really just write down everything and do the math, but it wasn't bad. I would encourage you to put a 4L80 transmission, because unless you upgrade your 4L60 to a 4L65, then and you're dogging it, you're probably going to break the transmission really fast, like I did. And I had to get it rebuilt. I bought a kit, a 4L65 kit, which just makes the plant, it gives it 5 planetary gears, and that's what makes it a 4L65E. And it just makes the shaft sit around the 5 planetary gears, and it makes it stronger. So you know, as far as the transmission shifting, you're gonna use your RPM signal, and there's a white wire that goes to your gauge. It's somewhere in here, but it's connected close to your fuel injection system on your Chevy trucks. That's going to go to your gauge. You're going to splice into that wire, make 2 wires, one to your gauge, and then another one that's going to go back to your crank sensor. And your MSD is making 12 volt it's pulse width modulated, so it's sending 12 volt signal constantly, and your PCM wants 5 volts, so you're going to use a resistor and make that 12 volt that your MSD is sending into 5 volts, so that your PCM can receive 5 volt, and it'll know when to shift gears. So let's see what else. This hose is the original hose. I had to cut it since it's bigger. I had to cut it down. This motor's bigger. These had to be longer. This is the only one that didn't reach for some reason. But these are my heater core hoses. This is still the original one. This original heater core hose. And those just went in right in here. This is where they come out, both come out of, and they go right back in there. It's almost as if these LS motors were just built made to be put on any Chevy application. I used my original fuel water pump hose to radiator hose right there. I used the original one and it also worked. You can also reuse this hose. This is off the V6 truck, which worked perfectly. You can also use the one that comes off the 5.3, but the V6 one, the original one, I bet the 350 one will also work. I had to make this adapter to get some of the heads. The heads had an extra outlet for water, so it won't get any water bubbles. But this is it right here. This is my daily driver. I get about 300 miles to a tank, and it has way more power than my V6. I've raced one Chevrolet truck. It was a extended cab, maybe a 2009, 2010 on the freeway, and I ended up beating them really bad. I don't know if his motor was stock or not, but these are definitely, once you put a 5.3, it'll definitely keep up with the newer Chevrolet trucks. Let's see, I kept the PCM right here. This controls basically just my transmission 460E. This is what controls it right here. But you know, probably one of the funnest things I've done is build the motor. I changed the crank bearings, cam bearings, and rod bearings on it. And the bearings are only $20, you know, each set. And you know, just building it, I did a lot of research on forums. You know, I'm glad that people just post things online, and that's how I got a lot of my help. That's where I got a lot of my help from. And people, you know, I'm so happy people document everything. That's why I'm doing this, in case, you know, there's something somebody's missed. You know, maybe hopefully I can cover it here and you can get your build done. But definitely, if you have a really nice OBS truck from, you know, 1988 through 1999, you know, here it is. This is a good motor to put in. You can buy them fairly cheap, and carbureted. I went carbureted. I didn't want to spend money on someone tuning it. Maybe fuel injection was going to cost me a little bit more, and turned out it took me about 2 to 3 months to tune it and get it running right. But there was just a few mistakes that I was making. My idle feed restrictors, I had a off idle. I had a bad lean off idle, but all it was my idle feed restrictors. Just richen those up a little bit, and it'll come off idle really smooth. And maybe just a bigger cam, pump cam, and a bigger size nozzle on your squirters could help it. This is a 580. After I tuned it, it works very good. I could have probably went to a 680, and you know, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But this is my first build. This is the first carburetor I've messed with, that I've ever tuned. So it's definitely fun working on them and not having somebody else, you know, touching, you know, the truck. You don't know what they're doing. You know exactly how everything works on it, on your vehicle. This is definitely a budget build, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Let me show you how it looks with the Spectre filter. And this is a 1997 Chevrolet pickup.